Premed office hours. It is February 11th, 211. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, founder of Medical School Headquarters, author of the Premed Playbook series, host of the Premed Years podcast, and friend to the one and only Deana Golini, former senior admissions officer for Stanford School of Medicine, former assistant director of advising at Brown University's Warren Alpert Medical School, host of the Med School Years podcast, and all around cool person. What's going on, my friend?
Thank you. Not much. Not much.
Here to help some students on their journey to be a little bit less anxious.
I was just going to say a lot of anxiousness going on right now. So on both sides, like people who applied this cycle and then people who are getting ready to apply.
Yeah, for people who have applied, so they applied the 25-26 cycle, which AMCAS just calls the 26 cycle because they're named after when you start med school, which is always super confusing. I don't know why they just don't do it like the academic calendar. It just spans 2 years, 25, 26, 26, 27. Everyone's used to that for the academic calendar. So anyway, for those who are in a position, they're still waiting to hear from a school. We're getting lots of questions. I haven't heard from these 10 schools that I've applied to. Unfortunately, the answer is most schools don't communicate until the very end when they mass send out all of the rejections.
Yeah.
Why?
That's true. Why?
So annoying.
That's a really good question because at this point in the cycle, it's all about, filling the class in the right way. And they hold on to a lot of students who they potentially may need to fill some sort of hole or void, right? Maybe they need someone from a certain state. Maybe they need more international students. Maybe they need more males, more females, but there are still interview invites coming out, which is crazy.
We keep track of that in our group Slack. Let me see. I won't name specific schools, but yesterday you had a student get one, the day before that, and these are good schools, right? That are sending out invitations. Who do you think, right? The students that are getting these invitations because they're the students that you're working with, our team is working with. Is there anything that you would go, okay, yeah, I can see why you got an interview this late? Is there anything about them or their application or anything special that the school's like, oh, I want this type of person?
Yeah, for sure. I think state residency, that has one thing to do with it, right? Whether you're in state or even like, are you like a California resident and it's a school in like Pennsylvania and they might not think you would go there. The other is what kind of like advocacy, change agency, like, are you bringing something different that they're like, okay, we really haven't seen this throughout our interview cycle and we need more of this.
Yeah.
We need more students interested in rural healthcare or something like that. It's specific things. It's not, I feel like the students I'm seeing getting interviews for MD right now have like something really specific about them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting. And it's such a crapshoot. And I think that's part of the frustrating part of this journey is there's some randomness to this. I don't like to use the word luck. I was at a conference and one of the deans of admissions said randomness. I'm like, that's the perfect word, right? It's not luck. You work hard as a student. You're likely going to get into a medical school. Now, which school? That's where the randomness comes into it. Like, who read your application on what day? What's going on in their life?
That has a lot to do with it. Who read your application?
Yeah. Right.
I've been there. Trust me.
And this is where I think, like, does AI fix that? Right? Does AI fix the randomness about human emotions? Or is the human emotions part of the randomness that's good? I don't know how to answer that question. Right? I think as a human, I want to say human emotions is good. But then you look at data for like, I don't know if you've seen these studies where parolees, like people that are up for parole, you're more likely to get parole like earlier in the day versus right before lunch, or right after lunch versus end of the day. So it's like,
that's such a good analogy.
The judge is hangry, so you're not going to get parole. But like that shouldn't be a variable here.
Yeah, there's also an exhaustion that comes along with the admissions process where you're just like in the beginning, like you're so motivated and you haven't seen a lot yet, right? So everyone looks amazing and brand new, but then the more you read and thousands of applications later, you kind of can compare in a way like, I've seen pretty much 99% of all applicants have 15 activities. This person has 6. Like, to me, they're falling short. Or I'm exhausted from reading. Every personal statement sounds the same. This person sounds the same. It's refreshing when you get someone who's like, oh, like,
yeah.
you know,
What's the most applications that you've read in one day? You've looked at in one day, roughly?
maybe 20.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, there's exhaustion.
Your eyes start to cross. You're like, who is this again? You're like, is this Carlos? Oh no, Carlos was like 10 applications ago. Yeah, it's crazy.
And you want to be fair, right? Like as a human reading, you want to bring that same level of energy to every single application. And after reading, undergrad admissions different though. For undergrad admissions, I've probably read 50 in a day, but those are fast. Those are much faster. You can do that in like 10 minutes.
Yeah. All right, we got some questions rolling
Awesome.
in. Let's read some questions. If I did a lot of research almost every year semester of undergrad, but they were all different topics, should I just have one section and list them all, or have one section for each?
So all the same lab? That depends. Like, if you're showing continuity and longevity in the same lab, that should all be like together. But if they're totally different things, like separate in terms of like, for this research portion, I presented somewhere different or got a different publication or went to different conferences. It was a totally different avenue. That's different. Yeah. I think I need more context here, though.
Yeah. I always get a little leery when I look at an application and I see multiple activities that are roughly the same. And I'm like,
same. I don't like it either.
Are you fluffing up these activities because you don't have a lot of other things to talk about? So
I think the rule of thumb is if it's the same contact person and PI for everything, it should all be one.
Okay. What? All right. Let's rock and roll. Michelle's daughter, I think, is working with you. Daughter got accepted to second MD school yesterday. Thank you, Deana, especially. What is your opinion on 3-year MD programs, Stony Brook, Hackensack, where you commit to a family practice or similar specialty? Is it too aggressive? So these 3-year programs aren't anything super new. NYU's been doing 3-year programs for a while now, and they officially went to a 3-year curriculum for everyone at some point recently. I'm not a huge fan, Deana, of the 3-year programs specific to like family medicine, because you're locking yourself into a specialty that right. And I don't know what Stony Brook's or Hackensack's, what their contract looks like. After 2 years, you're like, hey, I want to be an ophthalmologist. Can you get back onto the 4-year route? Whatever that might look like. I'm not a fan of contractually obligating yourself to family medicine as a pre-med when you might get to medical school. We know the data is like 75% of students change their mind. I don't know what you think about that.
I've heard mixed things, and I think that if you are considering like a super competitive specialty, right? Say like neurosurgery, then you have to think about this is shaving off a year that I could potentially tack on a fellowship, right? Where there's a longer period of training. Um, a downside, I think, to the 3-year programs is I've heard from a lot of students that they don't, once they enter rotations, they don't feel as prepared, especially if there's a truncated like anatomy or anything like that. And it's a little rushed. I think it takes a very motivated and independent type of student to
Mm,
get through the 3-year curriculum. For something like primary care or family medicine, I don't see what the point of 3 years is.
yeah.
Do you?
Wait, you don't see the point of 3 years or 4 years?
4 years. Sorry,
Yeah,
4
yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. No, I don't, and I think that's the hard thing is I think many students will tell you the 4th year for a lot of students is kind of useless. You're supposed to be figuring out what career you
Yeah.
wanna go into, and ultimately, you've already figured it out. Now you're just
Mhm.
trying to do
You've
your
applied
kind
for
of
residency.
audition rotations and stuff. Yeah, a lot of it is you've
Yeah.
already applied because you apply in September and,
I've never
uh,
seen
yeah,
so many M4s who I know, like, travel. I'm like, "This is crazy, like, y'all are traveling everywhere, like, vacations and this and that." Like, there's a lot more time in M4, right?
yeah,
Um, so for something, like
yeah.
this, I don't think it's too
Yeah, I mean,
aggressive.
this is the number one thing, right? Is
Yeah.
you save a year of tuition. So, yeah, I like what NYU has done where it's like everyone is 3 years. If you wanna stay an extra year to make yourself competitive for whatever residency you're going
You can
for,
take a research year
that's
or
great,
something.
do that,
Yeah.
but otherwise, it's 3 years, we're saving tuition. Now, NYU will say they're doing it for the student. My gut tells me they're doing it to save their endowment
To save the
because they're
tuition. Yeah.
the endowment is paying
Yeah.
for the students because it's a free tuition school, so I think there are selfish reasons for that, but I also think, yeah, that's great. Let's if the data shows, right, and here's the hard part, Deana. For me, the gold standard of medical training is once, right, for me using as an example, once I am out practicing medicine, what are
Mhm.
my outcomes compared to everyone else? And if students who are going through a 3-year
Yeah.
program, if their outcomes are the same as everyone else, right? They're not sued more, they
Then
don't
would
have
it
more
Zoom
issues
more.
and malpractice stuff, right? Like, that's the gold standard. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, and it'll take a while to
I
get
mean,
enough data to look at that.
I think and I do have some students that are weighing those options right now, whether it's NYU or another school, like the 3-year program, what do I do? And I think one of the best things you can do is talk to other students.
Yeah,
When you go to accepted student days, like talk to current students who are there and ask what it's like and get their opinions and just
yeah,
gather as much information as you can.
yeah. Alright. Good questions. Do med schools check if you're actually doing your activities during gap year? I don't like this question because it immediately tells me the student's trying to
I don't
get
like
away
it
with
either.
something.
Yeah.
Like, uh, assume they can check and know everything, right? It's like Santa Claus. He knows when you're sleeping,
You
knows when you're
should be
awake.
doing the activities that you listed on your MCAS during your gap
Yeah,
year. Yeah.
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 Don't do
And oh,
anything
wait, I'll
crazy.
go back to that. Let me go back
Yeah,
to that for a second. This
yeah.
is a great example of why the anticipated hours don't matter as
Don't
much
carry much weight.
when they don't carry as much weight. Like if you have no clinical experience and you put, oh, I'm going to get 5,000 hours of clinical experience anticipated in my gap year, to me,
Yeah.
you don't have any clinical experience. How do I know
Yeah.
that's going to happen? Right? It should be a mixture of both, like, demonstrated that you've completed hours and anticipated.
Yeah.
I don't like that question.
Our friend Deana, who gave us permission on our
Oh,
last
that
live to use
dog
her
is so
name.
cute.
I'm like, I was like, oh, if any nutrition's here, I wish we could use her real name. She's like, you can use my name. Hello, Deana. She has a
Hello,
question.
Dania.
The pro BBB politicians said, so the big, beautiful bill, politicians said med schools would lower tuitions in response to having that federal loan cap. While I have my own doubts on this, I'm curious about your opinions, any speculation on the big, beautiful bill reversal with different administration. I sent a text message almost immediately to some people about this, and everyone said no one's lowering tuition. Right? We're gonna figure out maybe where to pull some funds aside and do other things. And I had Dr. Layla Amiri on the Premed years yesterday. I interviewed her. It'll come
I
out
love
in a
Dr.
little bit.
Amiri.
Yeah, and we talked specifically about the federal loan caps and what schools are doing, and the schools are potentially spinning up their own loans for students, which I think is the smart play because, right, loans and interest on
Yeah.
loans, that's income, that's revenue generation for the schools. And if the school is like, hey, you're good enough to be a student here, I would assume that's the risk they're willing to take. Like, we'll give you the money and you'll pay us back later because you're going to be a great physician because we're going to train you. Private institutions, private lenders, schools are trying to find preferred partners there, people they can trust, institutions they can trust as much as you can trust the big banks and all of those people. Yeah, Deana, I have a very interesting thought on this, right? With the reversal of the federal loan caps. I'll get rid of the whole bill, right? We're specifically worried about the federal loan caps. I think we need a federal loan cap. I think
I do
having a
too.
blank check
Yeah.
is a stupid idea, and that's tuition costs and all of that has gotten
It's
crazy.
like having a
Now,
blank check on a credit card,
yeah, it's like, hey,
you know?
I have an almost 12-year-old, right? If I send her to the mall and be like, hey, here's my credit card, and without
I know
telling her
them
what
all.
what the limit is, that's just stupid. And that's what the government has done in this situation. Now, the question I think is 200,000 the right cap? Now, I think that's where we can start to go, hey, here's the average across the 250 plus medical schools. The average indebtedness is 250 grand. Awesome. Let's make that the number. All right. Maybe
Yeah,
200
start with the
is
average.
yeah. I would have
Yeah.
loved to see that better. So,
And I think if
uh,
it's a med school that is part of a broader academic institution where they also pull in a lot of money for undergrad tuition, like I've seen in the recent days, a lot of undergrad programs raising tuition rates like 4 or 5% for next year. Maybe
yeah.
they will make up for that some other way and be able to offer more. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's the smaller med schools that aren't under the umbrella of a larger institution I worry about the most, I think.
Yeah. We will see. Um, Thoughts on
And
new
Mew.
DO schools?
Ink
New.
Mew.
Did you say
Mew.
meow?
Meow.
Right, meow. Oh, good movie. New DO school. So I'm in Colorado. We just had a new DO school open up through the University of Northern Colorado.
Had a
eh,
few people interview there
yeah,
recently.
it's interesting. I had this conversation recently with someone. I don't like the COCA accreditation system and the LCME accreditation system. Very similar processes, right? These new schools have been in this process for years to this point. But the COCA, which is for DO schools, the accreditation system through COCA, they call their accreditation when a school is allowed to start accepting students, they call it pre-accreditation, which to me is confusing. And so students are like, wait, they're pre-accredited. They're not accredited. I'm like, no, that is the accreditation status.
That's the process.
Pre-accreditation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas LCME, they call it preliminary accreditation, which to me is a better term. Like change your terminology
Right.
here because it's confusing. We in our lifetime for as far back as I could look, we haven't seen a new medical school open up and then not get their full accreditation and close down, and those students are like
Never
screwed.
seen that. Yeah.
And these new schools have to have contingencies for that. They have to have money to support the students and other processes. If God forbid the worst thing happened and the school has to close in 2 years, they have to have that process all worked out too. But we've never seen that happen. What are your big thoughts or risks here for students?
I think that there are pluses and minuses to a new school. I think you have to be the type of person who wants to also take advantage of having something start from
Adventure?
the ground up. Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
being
Let
one
me
of the
let me
very
pause for 1
first.
second. Let me pause for 1 second. The question here is DO school. This applies to new MD schools too.
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Um, for example, like a brand new school is going to have to start like a med school grad student council, right? Or maybe they want a student run free clinic.
Yep.
Being part of like implementing all of that and making something out of nothing
Yeah.
looks really good for residency in terms of leadership, right? You have to be the type of person to take advantage of those things, and just help, leave things better than you found them,
Yeah.
right? But I think if you're not that type of person and you just want to be told what to do, I don't know how it's going to go with a new med school.
Yeah.
And you have to be patient. There's going to be kinks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a little entrepreneurial spirit maybe would be fun.
Yeah. Also, usually brand new facilities, which is a
Yeah.
plus, right?
Yeah, like awesome. The Alice Walton School of Medicine, their facilities are phenomenal. So. All right. Any thoughts on SLU? It's a med school,
It's
Jesuit
in St.
school.
Louis. It's Jesuit. if you like, you have to really feel that Jesuit whole philosophy, because that's
Yeah.
infused in every Jesuit, all 4 Jesuit schools. It's infused into everything. So,
Yep.
if you don't want that, yeah. If you don't want to be in St. Louis, it's not a good fit. I don't know.
What to do if my MA clinical is repetitive? I take vitals, EKGs, and all, but I just feel I do the same thing every day. I'm not too sure how to explain how taking vitals, EKGs is meaningful effectively. Wow.
Um,
This is a deep. I have deep concerns here, Deana.
I have very deep concerns here.
Chronicles 27283. This is life. Life is repetitive. You as a physician, what you do as a physician will get repetitive after a while. The goal is to find the thing that is repetitive that you actually enjoy, because that's what it is. Unfortunately, Deana, this is, I think, the perfect example of a student who is checking the box and doesn't
Yeah,
want to be
100%,
doing it.
because you should be looking at this experience from a lens of, first of all, you should be taking notes and keeping some sort of journal throughout your experience as an MA, but you should be thinking about what you're learning from the
Yeah.
patients that you're taking the vitals from, et cetera. Like, what are they teaching you? What have you learned about a practice? Like a physician's practice, and collaborating with other providers. There's so much more than just taking the vitals. And EKG worries me a little bit about how you're going to write this up on your AMCAS. We
Yeah.
can help.
Yeah, I'm not even worried about helping them write it. I want them to have a complete mind shift change, like, now.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
goal of this process isn't to get into medical school. The goal of this process is to explore your own feelings. And maybe this is a sign that you
And
don't want to
reflect.
be doing it. Because if this is the issue, now it's just gonna become even worse later. So I need you
What
to do
about the
some soul
repetitiveness
searching.
of like seeing patients every single day if you're like a practice
Yeah.
physician, right? You should be finding value in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's gonna be exciting, but
Uh-oh.
it should be meaningful. Have
Yeah.
that conversation and dig in. This is box checking 101. So
Yep.
hello, Warwick. Warwick, I'm pretty sure is our MCAT tutor, one of our MCAT tutors. If asked about the current healthcare system in an interview, do we try to avoid talking about how broken it is? How honest should we be? It's funny, Deana, because when I talk to students, I'm like they'll talk about shadowing or clinical experience internationally. I'm like, well, the whole point of it is to learn about our broken, screwed up
Yeah.
healthcare system. Um, yeah, how honest should students be here to recognize that it is broken?
I think you always need to deliver a response that speaks to both sides, positives, negatives, where we have room for growth, what we're doing right, where there needs to be improvement, and you really have to be kind of you need to try to minimize your own personal feelings that are very strong. Like I wouldn't come out and just say this healthcare system is totally shot. We don't have a chance, right? Like you
What
don't
am
want
I
to say
doing?
things like that. But instead talk about like here's what I think we're doing right and here's where I think we really need improvement. As our population changes, the needs change. Like maybe go down a different path in that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that is the goal. Um, Deana, I think I'll be interested to hear your thoughts here. I have a very strong opinion about this. What are your thoughts on top 20 MD schools versus state schools in terms of making yourself competitive for top residency programs?
No comment.
Oh, come on,
The
you have this.
mentality of the T20 has to go. Like that mentality just has to
Okay,
go
good. We're aligned
because
there. Yeah.
yeah.
Here's my
Um
response. I'm like, well, what does T20 mean? I'm like, oh, you mean that fake made up list made by the company to sell
that a
magazines?
lot of
Like,
med schools one
yeah,
I'm affiliated with have pulled out of,
yeah.
right? Because that is like a fake made up list. Um, and I love like we've had this conversation before, right? Look at some of like let's say you want to be like a neurosurgeon or orthopedic surgeon or something really competitive. Go and look at the list of all of the doctors affiliated in that department for that academic medical center and see where they went to med school.
Yeah. I love doing that exercise. And you'd be like,
It's
oh,
great.
they come from
Most
every walk of
state
life.
schools,
Yeah.
every walk of life, and it's all what you make of it. I have a lot of students I work with especially students with high stats who will only apply to T20 schools, and they're applying the second cycle.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's what you make of it when you're there.
All right, we can get to this question now. I pulled up some slides from our AAMC conference that I'll share my
Oh,
screen
I
here.
like this one. Okay, good. And
Um,
a great episode of mine from the med school years to watch regarding this question is from our NYIT student Kelsey. It was episode 4. She's a DO student at NYIT applying into ortho and
nice,
really talks about like how to prepare for that and what the expectations are. So check that out.
nice. Deana, this is a slide from a presentation at the AAMC conference that we were at
I
in
remember
San
this.
Antonio. You can see here, this is orthopedic surgery, and these are odds ratios. So does one of these things on the x-axis here does that increase or decrease your potential odd of matching? You can see here, signaling and sponsor affiliated, the med school sponsor affiliated with the residency program, those are the biggest signals, the biggest ways to increase your odds. You can see here that the being a DO applicant decreased the odds. Now, Deana, I had issues with this slide because being a DO, you haven't, DO students fail step 1 at a higher rate than MD students. And so I don't think this data does a good job of actually parsing out, was it that they were a DO or was it that they failed step 1? And so it needs to parse that out.
Yeah.
I know that the ACOM conference, so the DO version of the AAMC conference, they're meeting in April, I think, in Vegas. I don't think I'm going to go to that one, but they are following up with this with more data because this data is just from the AAMC and didn't share data with the DO world and Comlex information. They're all working together to get a clearer picture of this because the DO folks, they don't want the story to be that being a DO is bad. And so
Right.
trying to get as clear of a picture as possible. But if that is the data, then so be it. Let's work on DO reputations and all that stuff as well. So this was 2023. And then we also have 2025. And you can see signaling became even more important.
Even more important.
Huge. And the orthopedic surgery world is very different because they specifically said in ortho, you get 30 signals. The ortho people said, don't apply to more than 30 programs. It's just a waste of time. You either signal or you don't. If you don't signal, there's no way you're going to match. And again, you can see here the DO.
And we have the question, what is signaling, in the chat box.
Yeah, Deana, you want to explain signaling?
Yeah, it's basically like letting those programs know that you're interested, right? So instead of just applying to like 60 residency programs, you let certain programs know, hi, I'm really interested.
Yeah.
And usually those programs are ones that you did an away rotation at.
Yeah.
We built some sort of connection and relationship with the program. So unless you signal and basically say, hi, I'm interested ahead of time, then your odds are less likely to match.
Yeah. So signaling is interesting, right? Because this is basically a job application.
Yeah.
And the AAMC, who runs Eris, as one of the application services, there are several now. The AAMC cannot limit you in your job search. So the orthopedic example here, where the orthopedic kind of directors, program directors have basically said, you get 30 signals. If you're not going to signal us, don't bother applying. They can't legally limit you to 30 applications to the residency programs because that is interfering with your ability to work, right? It's the same kind of thought process, which a lot of people aren't excited about what's happening with college sports. College sports, everything that's happened in college sports, that's the same law basically. Is if I transferred schools and I had to sit out a year to participate in that activity, which is what it used to be,
I should get the year back.
The courts are saying you're restricting that person's ability to have a job and make income and do all of this stuff. And so that's what's happening here. So signaling is kind of a workaround to actually, instead of limiting the number of applications that you can send out, they're saying, hey, you get a limited number of like Valentine's Day stickers. Be like, I'm going to put a star on you and a star on you. Like, you're my favorite. It's basically the workaround there. That's all it is. It's like a pre rank list before the actual rank list. So I don't know if that helped or made sense at all, but it's all ways to stay out of court is what the AAMC and other people are doing.
And there is a lot of data you can pull to, remember, ask the question, about, from the match system,
Yeah.
of how many DOs matched into ortho per hospital, per state. You can really get some great data from that.
Yeah. Here's an interesting question from Instagram. I'll post it here. That's funny. The question mark got cut off from character length. How many clinical hours do you recommend when applying to MD PhD programs? Currently have over 1,000 research hours, 2 publications, 300 clinical hours. Is this enough to be competitive? Dean, I think one of the interesting things, at least the way that I see it, is I think students forget that when you're applying MD PhD, you're basically applying to 2 programs at one time. You're
Two
applying to the
applications.
medical
Yeah.
school, just like every other medical student, and then you're applying to the graduate program
Yeah.
to say, hey, I want to be a research nerd with you all. And I think oftentimes MD, PhD applicants and students who are going and thinking about applying to MD, PhD as freshmen, sophomore, juniors, they ignore the clinical stuff because they're like, oh, I'm going to be an MD, PhD applicant. The clinical stuff doesn't matter. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the right answer. What do you think here?
Yeah, you definitely, your application goes to two different places, right? It's right on the
Yeah.
MD side, it's right on the PhD side. There has to be two yeses for you to get accepted to the dual program. So on the MD side, you're still looking to see that you've had clinical exposure, that you know what being a physician is about. You've had direct interaction with patients. I've seen that a lot, where a lot of MD, PhD students just think it's all about the research, and it's not.
Yeah.
Um, so, you have to remove yourself from the PhD side when you're filling out your application and ask yourself, like, do I have what I need for the MD side? And also think about the competitiveness, for the PhD side in terms of how small is the program. Um, you know, I think the average number of research hours for PhD is 5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the K-pop Demon Hunters golden song. It's going up, up, up. Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a
And
lot.
it's interesting, right? Because that's where the AAMC puts out a PDF that's like a fun little infographic.
Average research hours,
Yeah, the research hours
1,400
are so
or
high. It's 1,400
1,500.
hours roughly, right? And that's skewed because of the MD PhD applicants that are included in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it. But yes, clinical just as important as non-MD PhD applications. This is the second. Oh, this is Paul. Paul asked about signaling. So this is something I also
Okay.
wanted to say that I graduated with a 4.0 GPA locked in. Congrats. I'm so happy, but now the
Congrats.
MCAT stress is hitting hard. I just really hope that I can make my application well-rounded. That's what it's all about.
Yep.
Good job. MCAT Immersive, if you go to mcatimmersive.com, I believe that website is live for spring break. Yep, it is live. We're doing MCAT Immersive over spring break for that week. And we have 3 different sessions. We looked at kind of all of the major schools where all of the pre-meds are hanging out. And we have 3 different kind of opportunities to participate and help increase your score over winter break. Or not winter break, spring break. Let's go check that out. Winter or MCAT
Can't
Immersive.
believe it's March next month.
I know I keep saying
It's
winter.
like
It's 60 degrees outside. I saw some stat like for winter here in Colorado, like we've had 30 plus days of 60-degree plus weather.
that's
It's
nice.
it's sad. It's dangerous. So hopefully fire season is not bad. That's the ramifications of that. So fingers crossed. I'm on 4 MD waitlists, waiting to hear back from 2 more MD schools I interviewed at. Should I be preparing for a reapplication? So no acceptances, 4 waitlists, still waiting to hear from 2 more. What's going on here? What should they be thinking?
A whole bunch of things. Yeah, at this point in the cycle, a whole bunch of things. Number one, you want to maximize the opportunities that you have for this cycle. Maybe consider sending a letter of intent to one of those waitlist schools for the other schools, if they'll make sure schools will accept letters, send a strong continued interest letter, make sure they know you're interested in getting off that wait list. So maximize the opportunities you have this cycle, contact schools you haven't heard from. Like we said before, some schools are still interviewing, right? In terms of preparing for reapp, the very first thing I would do is have somebody look at that MCAS and give you feedback and see if they can identify any gaps. Because if you do need to reapply, like you want to make sure that you're filling in gaps or it's strengthened. Contact all your letter writers, I would say, again, actually you could do it now, or March 1st, and just say, here's where I'm at. I have 4 wait lists. I want to just be proactive in terms of thinking of reapplying, and I may need your letter again. And I'll be in touch. This is what I would need. Are you going to invite any new letter writers? If you have a committee letter, you have to contact your pre-med office, make sure they're aware. Don't spring that surprise on them because that's not fun. But definitely, I've gotten a few emails this week with the same question, like, let's look at your AMCAS, so that you can start thinking ahead while maximizing the opportunities you have. I've had some students in this situation that are on like 5 wait lists, and they've gone to some events. Like some schools have, like Belmont, for example, is one of them. West Virginia is another one of them. They have some like open houses, like for everybody. And my students who were waitlisted have gone and just demonstrated a little more interest, maybe had the opportunity to have a talk with someone or get some info in terms of when there should be more waitlist movement. You got to just like put yourself out there right now. But get that app looked at before you plan to reapply.
Yes. Starting next week, we'll have a sale on those specific sessions. They're normally, I think, $199 for a 30-minute session. They'll be $99. So stay tuned for that. Both reapplication and Am I Ready sessions. So those of you who haven't applied and are getting ready to apply, meet with an advisor for 30 minutes, go over everything, get the green light or find some blind spots. And then if you have applied and you haven't gotten in yet, how to potentially move forward from where you're at now. Baconeer 7155. I've heard some MD PhD programs will also consider you for MD simultaneously. How does that work? This is just very specific to schools, right? Some will say, hey, like you're not accepted to the MD PhD program, but we'll consider you for the MD program. We'll let you know. Other programs are you apply MD PhD. That's all we'll consider you for. So it just depends, right?
I had some students this cycle that applied MD PhD and just got offered MD.
Yeah.
Just depends school to school.
Yeah. LORs. The stress of LORs. Blue Mango here. How do I deal with LORs? LOR writers not answering me, even after following up. I'm freaking out since I can't apply without LORs. Yeah. Not answering is different than a no, in my opinion, Deana. And so I think you just keep pestering as politely as possible.
If you're on campus and you have that ability to even like go in person to someone's like office hours or something, then that I think is a plus.
Yeah.
Right. And you just have to keep asking and then thank them a lot once they do say yes. And if they keep saying no, like you might need to think of some backups.
What if they all say no? Then that's it's a good thing that they're saying no, because they're probably not going to write you a good letter anyway.
Yeah.
And that's an issue. Backups. All right. Our checkbox person, what to do if someone were to send 2 letters of intent and got into both? I've heard of this happening before on Reddit. Don't send 2 letters of intent. It's that easy.
You're getting bad information somewhere. Chronicles. I don't like. You should only be sending 1 letter of intent.
Solamente uno. No más. All right. There's a question here that came over from Instagram. Where'd it go? Here. When should we look into a post-bac program before applying to medical school in reference to science GPA? So it's one of the most common questions that we get, right? Is how do I know if my science GPA is good enough or if I need to do some extra work, whether through post-bac or master's or whatever? How do you evaluate this?
I mean, if you're thinking of applying to med school with a 3.0, you're going to likely get screened out. You're probably not even going to get looked at as deeply. I mean, every school will have some sort of system, right? Where like there's a GPA cutoff or some.
3.0 with no trend?
With no trend, right, with no trend. And then, like, what kind of post-bac? Do you need to redo all your prereqs? Like, that's one thing. Or are you talking about, like, a graduate level post-bac, like an SMP program where you want, and that would generate a different GPA, a graduate GPA. So now you'll have those two GPAs, like the 3.0 and hopefully like a 4.0, right? I think you have to just, the goal is this, like if anyone can look at your transcript and not see an upward trend or have any doubts that if they were to throw you into an M1 curriculum, you might not make it, then you need to prove that you can make it. I'm not going to throw someone into brain sciences where their last 2 semesters are all C's and B's. Like, I'm going to worry about that,
Yeah. And then it depends on the school as well, right? Does the school have resources to support maybe a student with lower stats, knowing that, hey, we probably need some learning specialists here to help support these students? And there are some schools that those are the students that they like. Depends on who they want to be. And then you get other schools like NYU that's like, our average GPA is a 3.99999. Okay, Raphael.
I do see a pattern with all of my students that get interviews there and get accepted there, though. I mean, they are a certain type of student.
Yeah.
They're consistent, at least.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, they should be consistent because it's an AI that's reviewing the applications. So that's where the AI comes from. So that's good. All right, let's go one more question here. Trying to find a good one. This question came in earlier. We skipped over it. Let's finish on this. Community college prereqs for non-trads or maybe even just regular old applicants. Are we seeing any trends lately with community college?
It depends on the school. You should first look at that AAMC MSAR guide, the prerequisites. It lists every med school by state. See, you want to make sure you're applying to schools that even take community college courses. That's important. But how do they look at them as a non-trad? I mean, I think it's a little more acceptable to see it as a non-trad than someone who's in college and in the summers are just taking all their lab sciences at community college they think they'll get an easier kind of ride in the summer. I do think that that's different. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, again, I'm more a fan of thinking about it less so as black and white of community college is bad.
It's a gray area.
Good. Yeah. It's what does the trends look like, and are there patterns that make it look like you're going to the community college to make it easier for yourself, and what's that conversation look like? So yeah, I think I don't think it's horrible. I like
Depends on the
Dr. Wright's
student.
version of this is optimal, okay, and not okay, or his kind of way of thinking about it is it's not optimal, but for most schools, it's okay. All right, friends, check out medicalschoolhq.net for everything that we have to do. Deana, you work with students one-on-one. We have a small team of
Yes.
amazing experts who work with students and help them live their dreams. You, I think, posted today, one of your students just got into a fantastic school. What's it like to get the feedback from students that
Oh,
it's like, hey, I
oh,
got
I
into my
love
dream school?
that. It's like it's the best because you just like you know how much work went in throughout this whole journey, and to see a student get that phone call from that dream school, it's like
No.
you know they'd be great at any school, but yeah, it's
That's
rewarding, very rewarding.
Well, thank you for everything you do for students. Everyone else, go check out medicalschoolhq.net. Our MCAT Immersive again coming up next month. And we're here almost every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern answering your questions. Have a great week. Bye-bye.